Hi, this is Kathryn Dungan, and this video is on narrative research. It's kind of a narrative research in a nutshell. It briefly describes narrative research through 5 guiding questions of what, who, when, why, and how. So what is narrative research? Basically, narrative research is when researchers explore a problem through the experience and stories of individuals who have experienced that same problem. And after going through a process of collecting data, which I'll speak to later on in the video, the researcher analyzes the data and then writes narratives about the people and their situations. It's a qualitative research. It can come in many forms, some of them ranging from autobiographies, interviews, oral histories, documents of life, personal documents, memoirs, testimonies, life stories, etc. The who of narrative research is basically you, the researcher, and one other person. You follow this person and basically gather data through conversations and experiences you have with this individual. It's, however, not confined to just one person. You can also gather a collection of stories from various individuals, all addressing that same problem or question. When you use narrative research, it really boils down to whether or not you have somebody that has a story to share. And this story follows a sequence of events or has a chronology to it. Without that piece, if that piece isn't available, narrative research is not the right design. So as a researcher, you might be asking, why? Why would I use narrative research? And it's actually, in the field of education, has become more increasingly popular over the years, in the past 20 years. And really, stories in people's personal lives and their observations are powerful. Taking teachers' stories into account can be much more meaningful for practitioners than a bunch of numbers or graphs. And Creswell even speaks to this type of research helping diminish that notion that research is distinct from practice, right? Because it's actually something that's happening in the classroom, and knowing that this research is coming from the teacher's account in the classroom can definitely have more of an impact. And now we look at how to conduct this research. And it's typically the researcher forming a close connection with the person or people pertaining to the research. They use stories, artifacts, pictures, interviews, and the researcher collects the data through these means. This data is then called field text, and the researcher really tries to embody the individual's experience as much as possible, simply because when looking at the data they've collected, they want their interpretation of it to be as accurate as possible. They then they look at this data, this field text, and they see themes or categories that emerge from the data. And once their analysis is done, they touch base and collaborate with the participants of the research to make sure they're on the same page and that their interpretation is accurate. And then with that information, they retell the story in a narrative fashion. So they're incorporating the elements such as setting, characters, problem, and solution. So that is narrative research in a nutshell. I've included this chart here, major characteristics of narrative research, for your reference. In deciding whether or not narrative research is the right design for you, this is kind of a summary for you of what the contents of the video were.